Welcome back to the kickoff. Newcastle and Chelsea are in the Champions League. Get in there, lads. Hey, I tell you, it's good. It's a good feeling. And obviously, we owe a big thank you to our other guest today.
United.
Yes, I always like
we were all
them.
United fans yesterday.
Honestly, all is forgiven. All right,
Bunch of legends.
You pricks.
do you know what? I over the years, I just want to do a little side note here. Sir Alex Ferguson. He obviously ruined my childhood. Not in sort of,
We know.
he didn't touch me or anything. But like,
Yeah.
I had to see him celebrate a lot, and he always referred to Newcastle as a wee club in the northeast. And I'm so glad that, I do respect them a lot more than I used to, but I'm so glad he's lived to see the day where Man United are fighting relegation, Newcastle are winning trophies, Newcastle are in the Champions League. Have that, you old bastard. Come on.
We don't understand this. Again, we'll tell you again, Newcastle, we are surprised by this. We want you to do well. We do not understand this. It's this one-way rivalry that
It
is
really
just,
is, yeah.
It's we're like, wait a minute, we don't mind you got. Like this,
Yeah.
we got enemies and you're not on the list, but we start to realize that you lot really want to make our shit list. And that's why we're
Yeah.
happy Sunderland's here. Can't wait for that dot. Yeah.
God. Oh,
I'll be
God.
supporting
How
the
are you
Black
feeling
Cats.
about that, Brian? By the way,
I'm not
let's
happy.
just do 20 seconds on that. How are you feeling about Sunderland being back in the Premier League? Is it a good thing?
Oh, well, I was cheering for Sheffield United, hoping that they were going to keep them down, because the problem with them lot is once they get above that station, do you know what I mean? And they start thinking where they are. The only thing I do think, I'm trying to find like reasons that it could be a positive. The games Newcastle don't perform in, generally, are the ones against the small clubs, the irrelevant little relegation fodder, that that lot. So with a little
United.
rivalry, maybe we'll actually show up for one of those games or two of those games next season. But yeah, I wish they didn't get promoted, obviously. It is what it is. So let's talk about the race for Champions League, lads.
Let's go.
Aston Villa took on Manchester United. Newcastle are obviously having an absolute stinker at the time against Everton, and every player on the pitch seemed to choke, and including the manager, who I thought played the wrong formation. It was all going terribly, and Man United show up against Aston Villa after bottling it in the cup final a few days beforehand. What's going through KG's mind as you're seeing Man United turn it on?
Am I allowed to swear on this platform?
Oh, aye.
Fucking criminals. The lot of them. I looked at those players and I said, you bitches, you lot had if there was a day to perform, yeah, this is not the day. The wrong match, you lot. You turn up there was one-touch passes. Players knew what they're doing. It's the same formation. You lot just decided to play today. And you say to yourself, well, where the hell was this? But our manager, our manager had a bottle job moment. The same way you're talking about your manager before in that last game of the season. The game, I don't know if it was too big for him or the stakes were too high, but then things he should have done. Get Onana around net. Never should have been there. Drop that bitch. Literally, all those decisions, make the key ones. Now, the Garnacho one was a bit of a funny one, but it is what it is. He's going, when you got the wrong attitudes at the club, it's not going to work. We're in the position of, well, if you're fighting relegation, you need people that are in the fight with you and don't have their own personal agendas. Garnacho, unfortunately, has his own personal agenda, which is not United. It's all about himself. Because when he does a speech at the end, all he talks about is himself. If I had longer, mate, we're still 16th and you had all season, mate. So don't give me no shit about if I had longer. So I can't believe we put in a performance like that. It's probably the best we played all season. And you think, well, where's that been? Which lets you know these players can turn it on and turn it off. And yes, Villa still shit the bed. There was a controversy, but we're still better than them.
Tell me about the controversy. What did you make of it when it happened?
Oh man, well, to be honest, I'll be real with you guys. I didn't want us to win that game. I'm gonna be real. I didn't want us to win that game on the basis of you lot can't turn up now. You lot are taking the liberties. It's almost an insult to the fans to turn up in this game. So then the ball rolls back into the keeper, not heavy shot. And then buying this, his time to step up. Then he does Onana 2.0, gets his hands on it, and I think it's Morgan Rogers or something, and you're looking saying, this is why I hate both of these keepers. But then again, he's not really got in his hands. And it goes in the net, and then we start cussing because we're like, even when, and it's so hard because you want us to lose, but you secretly want us to win because we're down to 10 men and it's all crazy. But then the moment happens, the ball goes in the back of the net, you think, here we go again, only for corruption to take part. Big corruption. And I couldn't believe it. Like, well done. Well done, referee, for actually doing something that helps Man United for the first time in our life. And it was the wrong time of the season. We needed that help earlier in the season. We needed that help. Like, he should have done that to us a long time ago. But no, they waited to the end of the season when it doesn't matter. And all it helps is our rivals, fucking Newcastle.
KG, you could have had every reffing decision go for you this season. You'd have finished about 13th.
Villa fans understandably are livid about that. Obviously, it was a few years ago where they stayed in the league from a dodgy refereeing decision, if you remember that.
Wow. Yeah.
So what goes around does come around. But equally, I understand. But I think I understand their argument, and we're all sick of the referees. I don't think it's an example of corruption. I think it's just an example of how piss poor the standard is, personally.
No, for once in the VAR era, it's actually human incompetence that's fucked it there, because it's him that blows the whistle, and therefore VAR can't intervene. So it's not a VAR problem. I don't really think it's a corruption problem. I think the ref's just gone too early. And I think I looked at how many games that he's actually been in control of in the Premier League, and I think he had done double the amount in the Championship, and he's done 9 or 10 in the Premier.
From what I understand, out of these 380 or whatever it was that he could have reffed this year, he reffed about 11.
Yeah,
380 Championship games.
No, like Premier League referees, the total is about 380 or something like that, I read. And he's only reffed 11.
And this is what I'm saying. So you're reffing a game, which is what, Josh, you're now 100 million game. I can see where they'd feel aggrieved, but at the end of the day, like we say, what goes around comes around at times. So,
and everyone was playing as the final day of the season. Like, they didn't have like all the refs to go around, didn't it? So he's definitely going to get the call up now. So
they're also saying that the sending off shouldn't have been a sending off, Villa, because he was going away from goal.
No way, that's 100% a sending off. That's a straight red card. He clattered him. You do that, someone outside a nightclub, you get nicked.
That is probably his last involvement for Aston Villa as well, Martin.
I know, right?
He's off, isn't he?
Best involvement for us, though.
I know. Yeah, I'm running.
You would take him 100%.
Who signed Bayindir, by the way?
All the crackheads.
Right. Because I can't believe that Man United managed to find 2 goalkeepers that bad. Like, it's almost like it would have been an achievement to do that. Do you get what I mean? Like, it's actually harder to do, like, the
Ten Hag.
Like, it's amazing.
That ball getting nicked off by Bayindir, there's no, like, case of bad luck, anything in there. That's complete goalkeeping error.
Yeah.
He's not willing to put his body on the line. That's exactly why. So if you look at the way he comes for the ball, his first instinct is, let me break my fall. And then my second instinct is get my hands on the ball. Old school goalkeepers don't think like that. Current goalkeepers don't think like that. You just come and put your body on the line.
Only Man United can really go into the market and find the worst 2 goalkeepers. It takes it takes special scouting to do
they're
what
going
we've
back
done.
into the market right now because Ruben Amorim is clearing house a lot like what he did when he was in Portugal. He put out a speech. He did a speech at the end, which, look, I've been critical of him. It was especially for not your first language. It was a fucking good speech.
Yeah.
He said 6 months ago after my first 3 games, I said the storm is coming today. After the disaster season, I will tell you the good days are coming. Now, part of those good days are coming seems to be him telling players, find a new club, namely Onana and Garnacho. Onana, I totally understand. The Garnacho one, you do wonder, could this be one of those where people look back and go, he could have been some player if you'd kept him, because he is so young. And all right, this season he's been pretty crap, but last season he showed a lot for such a young age. Does anyone think this may be a mistake?
He'd be wonderful for you. I think he's a good player.
I think Eddie Howe could turn him into a real player.
No, I think he's already a good player. He just makes bad decisions. Wherever he goes, you're getting yourself, like, there has to be something, when you look at Man United, there is something of there's shit at this club But when they go somewhere else, they're brilliant. Look at McTominay. McTominay, Anthony, there's something wrong there's something in the water at Old Trafford, unfortunately.
I think it's partly like attitude from players, but I think also it's the circumstances, it's the pressure. And I think, like, for example, when you join a Manchester United, you probably have this idea of, I'm joining one of the greatest football clubs in the world. And I feel like when you get behind the scenes, as Ronaldo said, the reality is it's a million miles away from what it's supposed to be. And there's a feeling of it, this ain't what I thought it would be. This, and when people are talking about Garnacho having a go and complaining about not playing in the final and that you shouldn't talk about that, I get it. I mean, he was spot on. Yeah, I get why he's not supposed to say that publicly. But I think players like Garnacho, the reason that they're now openly talking about Man United the way they are, in the way that Ronaldo did even, it's if a club doesn't respect itself and it doesn't conduct itself with the self-respect it should do it from the top down, why should the players then respect the club? And I think that is entrenched in the DNA of Man United now, of like, you lot aren't a professional outfit. You don't act like one. Why the fuck should... Man United is now... Garnacho, back in the day, if he'd been under Alex Ferguson, would have looked at Man United like the be-all and end-all, and there's only one club I'd leave for, and that might be Real Madrid, for example. Now, they're looking at Man United like a fucking stepping stone. Yeah. That's how bad it's getting. So,
but the pressure's still there, like, as a top club. And most players shrink under it.
Maybe next season it might be decreased, because now Man United's expectations are, if you can get top six, that'll be amazing.
I think that puts us in a, like you said it last time, Man United have got to stop thinking about the gap between us and the top 4, top 6. We're not in that bracket anymore, and we have to accept it. And now we have to set new targets and goals and have the right players that are willing to fight for those things. I still think Garnacho's going to go off and be Chelsea. You lot are interested. I think he's going to...
Don't want him.
Nah, thanks.
Don't want him.
Well, you never know, mate.
They've been burned a few times by that sort of player, to be fair. But look, it's not just him. Meno didn't start in the final. Like, if you'd have said to me, you know, when Amorim came in, they're going to make the Europa League final and they're not going to start Meno and Garnacho or Ugarte, who was supposed to be the future.
That's the mental one. That's the mad one.
Ugarte, he clearly does not fancy, and this is a roughly £50 million player, and Meno is an expensive talent if anyone wants to come and get him. And he's just like, I'm not interested. That's blowing my mind, that.
And he came from him, didn't he? He came from Sporting, Ugarte.
Yeah, but I didn't think he was at PSG. He left early. I don't know if he play for him?
I don't know if he played under him.
I don't know if he played for him, but end of the day, that was a mistake that he made, because Casemiro couldn't get involved. Like,
realistically, you're going to need to get rid of Garnacho. You're going to need to get rid of Kobe Mainu, and then probably you get a fee for Anthony now because he's done quite well, and then you're looking at maybe reinvesting after that. It's going to be...
What, the Bruno Fernandes one is there? Al Hilal, that's a lot of money, and I think everyone
wants to keep him. Amorim's trying to convince him to stay, isn't he?
Well, listen, his wife might be telling him to go get that generational wealth. You know what I mean? There's like your manager could want to keep you, but if the missus is saying you can still get international football and life can still work out, you can still go. Like, don't be surprised if he does end up there. So this could be the big rebuild.
He should absolutely leave Man United now. Like, he's given them the best years of his career. And now, a word from our sponsors. Right, lads, there's one thing I can't stand doing, and that is food shopping. I just can't be bothered with it. I love food, hate food shopping. And that's where today's sponsor always saves the day. It's HelloFresh. HelloFresh make affordable meals with no waste. And if you hit the link in the description below and use the code TKO50, you can get 50% off your first box, 20% off the month after that, and free desserts for life. And I mean, we all love free desserts. And that means you're getting a meal for as low as £1.75 per person. Total bargain. When you click the link, you'll go to HelloFresh and you can pick from over 50 recipes per week. There's always variety on there, and you can choose how many people you want meals for and the number of meals you want. So you'll only order what you need. And I'm in training mode right now, and there's loads of meals on there which are high in protein. All the quantities are measured to perfection. So if you want to fuel your workouts, this is a great place to go. So lads, if you want easy meals sorted for you, click the link in the description below, go to HelloFresh or use the QR code on screen now. And remember, when you use the code TKO50, you get 50% off your first box, 20% off the next month, and free desserts for life. A big thanks to HelloFresh for keeping me well fed, but for now, enjoy the video. And you know why Amorim wants to keep him is because Bruno Fernandes is a player where if you fuck it up tactically, if the players you bring in are shit, he will still drag you to a respectable place in the league or keep you out of the fucking relegation zone. And I think that shows, because if you really believe you're capable of doing this rebuild, you actually do want to cash in on a player and like who's getting on to his later years, and you actually do want the money to reinvest. And I think that shows is he's still got one foot in I might fuck this up though. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it shows a lack of belief.
Well, no, you know what? The guy, he's had double speech for sure. The minute he's talking about, I don't need severance package. If they get rid of me, that you can just get rid of me. That I'm not going to take any. But then when you hear the final speech at the end of the season, he's saying the storm's over and we'll never do this ever again. So I really hope it's the latter, and Amorim is ready to, show some minerals, show that there is a good coach there and he can rebuild this United side. I hope he can do it. I'm not sure, but he gets the time now because the board.
Let's move on to Chelsea, because the boys did a live stream for their qualification game against Nottingham Forest. Credit to Nottingham Forest. What a fucking season they've had. And if Chris Wood had been the Nottingham Forest version of Chris Wood instead of the Newcastle version in that game, they might have had a bit of a fight on their hands. But no, Chelsea were in control. A really good game from them. I think. Joy, is this you having the last laugh after all those Chelsea fans said to you, that you were too positive and that we were fucking not getting Champions League and all of that? How satisfying was it to be proved right?
Felt good, mate. Felt good. Felt better than the win the other day. It felt really good. Do you know what, right? It's funny because it weren't, obviously I'm always like an eternal optimist when it comes to Chelsea, but it wasn't just the fact that Chelsea did it. It was more so the fact that I did say to anyone that would listen, right? I said, one of the main reasons why Chelsea do it, and again, it's like we were saying about sometimes I'll come up with these things that don't have much logic, but a lot of the time they just end up coming to fruition, right? And I said, why Chelsea get it? Because no one's going to fucking want it when it gets there. I said, when it gets to the final couple of games, I said, no one's going to want it. Everyone's going to bottle it. And I said, Chelsea, not that we did. We actually got over the line with 6 points from the last two games. Yeah. But I said, Chelsea get over the line with 4 points. I said, because one of Newcastle or Villa at some point in here are going to drop points. I said, so I don't even think we need to be perfect. I think 4 points to get us over the line. Mm-hmm. I think we can beat Man United, draw against Nottingham Forest and still get over the line. Luckily, we got the win and it got us all the way up into fourth, which immediately means now, regardless of the outcome of the European final, we've had a successful season. Obviously, that would be the cherry on top. But I thought that, look, a lot of men became boys yesterday, in my opinion. Boys became men, I should say, in my opinion. I've been celebrating last night still. A lot of boys became men. Like, if you look at the performance of Levi Colwill yesterday, that's saying that can only set you up for next season to have a really good game. Caicedo starting 38 out of 38 games in the Premier League this season. Like, no one even bothers talking about the price tag of Caicedo and even Enzo Fernandez now. So, yeah. It came good in the end. I think we did it in a very Chelsea unconventional way in terms of the matches that I perceived us to be heavy favourites in and games that we should win. We didn't. The only match that I think I predicted in that run-in of us not winning that happened was the Newcastle game. I didn't say we'd win at St James's. I thought we'd drop points there. But to go in the second half of the season and in that final run-in, which we could all agree, like when we looked at it on the kickoff, I think we had 6 or 8 games to go. We all earmarked it. We said Forest have got the easiest run-in, right? And that was on the form they were playing at that time. You look at the likes of dropping points to Leicester, dropping points to a few of the lower. They collapsed. Chelsea had the hardest run-in, probably Newcastle somewhere in between. And when you then look at that and go, okay, well, earlier on in the season, the first half of the season, you were playing great football and you were, some people questioning whether you were in a title race, and Chelsea fans can be disgruntled that counter-attacking football, that great football we were playing earlier in the season hasn't been consistent in the second half of the season. We've dropped points where we wouldn't have wanted to. But in the second half of the season, we've beaten Man United, we've beaten Liverpool, we've beaten Nottingham Forest. These are things that we didn't do in the first half of the season. So I always felt like we had done enough good work in the first half, 2/3 of the season, that just a little run of results, I was talking 3 wins or something like that, that'd get us over the line. And eventually, maybe not in the exact same way it happened or I predicted, but it did kind of turn out that way.
Josh, what's your opinion on Maresca now? He's delivered really what the desire was from the owners, I'd assume, at the start of the season. Is he making you a believer, or are you still skeptical as to whether or not he's like the long-term guy?
I feel like it's a bit of a watching brief with him, to be honest with you. Like, I still haven't 100% nailed my colours to the mast and sort of said, yeah, this is the guy that will be the generational manager and will transform Chelsea going forward. What I really did appreciate and what I did like is the way he came out after the game was a lot more self-confident than he has been previously. I do think there is something in this with managers where even when you're in the darkest times, if you believe in yourself a little bit, arguably Ange has done it, to a degree after that final win.
Ange has that delusional belief.
Yeah, he is. But also, in a weird way, right? In a weird way, you have to have that self-confidence as a manager, because ultimately, no one else is going to believe in you, right? Even when you have these ups and downs in form, ultimately, the managers that believe in themselves will see them through form and bad form. So I like the way that Maresca came out and actually, really, but he basically said F off to people, which I loved. He said in English, you guys say F off, which I really respected, to be fair. I think what he's got to do is he's got to sit down with the board, sit down with the directors of football and say, right, this is exactly what I need. I need some more experience in the team. We need a goal scorer. We actually need to work as a team to be able to build that, off and on the pitch. Poor old Maresca isn't going to get a lot of time off in the summer. He's going to have to work all the way through. He's going to have to do the Club World Cup. He's going to have to do all the transfers. He's got to now work his arse off in the summer, because what that will enable us to do is then push on and kick on next season.
Will he do the transfers?
Do I think that Maresca is going to be the man that wins as a title? Absolutely guaranteed. Do I go into next season going, yeah, we're title challengers? No. But is he a manager that can grow with the squads and grow with the players and actually improve? I think there's potential there. And ultimately, the key word for every Chelsea fan right now is potential. We do it with every facet of the fucking club right now. So
you've got the youngest team ever in the Premier League, right? Average age of less than 25. So you would think, given that you went out a couple of years ago and basically bought every good youngster anyone had ever heard of, that this would start to mature now and you'd reap the benefits of all of that. And not that anyone is going to give them any credit because of the amount of money they spent. I've already seen it all over YouTube.
Yeah, Arsenal fans are pissed off that they celebrated. They said that how Chelsea celebrated is embarrassing, and if they did that, they'll be cussed.
We can have a better season than Arsenal, and that's why they're annoyed.
Having never won a European Cup.
Yeah,
there you go.
Look, we'll move on to Newcastle, because it was a really weird day. That Everton at home, and they had a couple of injuries at the back as well. You'd think, yeah, go on then, but I wasn't feeling confident, because I do rate Moyes. I think he's a pain in the arse, and Everton are just a pain in the arse to play against every fucking time. And bloody Pickford being a Mackham, he brings his A game every time we play. And Alexander Isak, again, another season where Alexander Isak is having major fitness problems. And that is the thing that everyone sort of forgets about when you hear him linked with all of these top clubs, is he is incapable of making it through a season.
Are you worried about him?
I'm fucking right, I am. Mate, he looks like Højlund in disguise in the last fucking month, right? That is not an exaggeration. He is literally, and I say this with love, because the guy, when he's fit and he's on it, is one of the best players in the world. But in the last, since the cup final, the drop-off has been staggering. And he's not in games. You know how Højlund is just a waste of time even being on the pitch down to 10 men? It's like that. We're just giving the defender someone to have a look at, really. We're doing, I worry about his long-term fitness a bit. And look, part of this isn't his fault. Part of this is the fact that Newcastle's squad is so paper thin that we run players into the ground the same way Arsenal have done with Saka. We're running players into the ground, and that is what you get. And we're
so what would you do with him
as well.
What would you do with him then, Brian?
We need a backup striker. We need to give Eddie Howe the ability to rotate his team, and especially with Champions League. Like, part of me is like, this is nothing like the cup final. Like, getting into the Champions League for me is like, great, we're going to get that money to invest in the squad. Even with all that money, do we have enough money to buy enough players where Eddie Howe will have the confidence in those players to rotate them within his first choice starting 11 and actually give some of these lads a rest and not run them into the ground? I don't know, because in this game, Joe Linton's out. We know what a key player he is for us. We've seen in the cup final, he's a monster. And instead of just putting young Lewis Miley in his place, we completely changed formation to a formation that clearly Stevie Wonder could tell you it doesn't fucking work. And you're wondering, like, what the fuck are we doing here? And the level of urgency from everyone around Newcastle was, this needs to change within 20 minutes. And again, we wait so long. And then of all the players we bring on, and I'm done being nice, Joe Willett comes on. And honestly, that kid, it's sad. 25, 26 years old. He looks 35. The way he played, he was once a promising youngster. He is fucking finished at the top level, mate. He doesn't belong anywhere near a Newcastle squad. And players like, and so Eddie clearly just has no faith in anyone coming in for Joe Linton. And then poor Callum Wilson, he naturally, because of his age, isn't able to lead the line the way he used to. So he's coming in and trying to help as well. And it's like, we're getting in the Champions League. I'm like, well, the Premier League's fucked then for us, isn't it? Unless we sign,
mate.
We're going to need to sign a lot of players.
Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Chelsea don't want him.
Fuck.
There's a couple players in there that you could do. It sounds like you need a Marcus Rashford though.
We need a lot of players, and it's just I'm happy for the money, because ultimately the long-term progression of the club, you need Champions League, and the idea of us playing at Barcelona or Real Madrid would be a fucking amazing experience. I'm not too negative about it, but I'm actually worried as well, because the last time we got Champions League, it fucking crippled us, and that's exactly what's going to happen again. If anything, we're easier to beat now than what we were when we got Champions League last time. We got 5 defeats the last time we got Champions League the whole season. We've got 12 this season.
In terms of being able to go out and sign players, you're surely in a better position now, though, with Champions League football.
I think we're in a better position.
Time you got it.
Yeah, we're in a better position because we overachieved, and because the mad thing about Eddie Howe, and I have to give him credit, especially since I've been a little bit critical of the formation change, we haven't signed a first team player in 3 fucking transfer windows. Yeah. We've been losing players, like the lad who went to Brighton, our academy kid who went to Forest.
Tonali with a whole season ban.
Tonali wasn't out. It's been bloody hard. So now, hopefully, we should be able to reap the benefits of not spending and then getting Champions League. I'm just scared that we're not going to have the numbers and that Eddie isn't going to have the belief in them, because we need like 5 minimum here. If we're going to if our season isn't going to go down again, we need 5 minimum.
Wow.
Don't know.
Wow.
Do you know what? It's, I was saying yesterday, and hearing you say that makes me think, yeah, because Newcastle do need a little bit more. They definitely need a bit more depth. But I was saying this about Chelsea yesterday, right? I'm not saying Chelsea have got just as good a chance at challenging next season as Liverpool. Like, that would be silly to say. They've just romped the league. They're getting their business done early. You'd imagine surely Man City can't be worse than they were this season, but I still think there's a bit of a rebuild there. Chelsea have got as good a chance for challenging for the title next season as Arsenal. I'll say that, saying I don't think Arsenal are going to win the title next season, but they've got just as good a chance, because now, and this is what I'll be looking at if it was Newcastle, the difference being, I believe Chelsea need 2 first teamers, whereas you might believe there's more needed to do at Newcastle, and obviously Chelsea have probably got better strength in depth, especially with the loans we've got and whatnot, but Chelsea and Newcastle, if they can go and get it right in this transfer window, I think looking at this season, I don't think the Premier League's like, I think it's more winnable than it's been for 5-6 years now. I think anyone could go and do it.
Do you think Man United is going to take points off you guys knowing we got 1 game a week? Like, not saying we're not involved in a title race. So
you know what?
Do you reckon we'll fuck it up?
No. That whole should help. That 1 game a week thing's a load of shit. Like, we didn't have no European football under Pochettino, so we basically had 1 game a week, and we finished lower than where we finished this season. When Aston Villa first got that Conference League, everyone went, Thursday nights might fuck them. They end up getting top 4. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So when you look at teams getting the Conference League and the Europa League and that, I mean...
The only thing it does impact, Joey, is injuries. That is the one thing, is you do get less injuries and then you can keep your better players fit. So it could help you avoid injuries. But on the point you've just made, it's weird because I look at Chelsea's team and I think strength and depth-wise, you've just got an amazing group there in terms of like the overall level. Your worst players are nowhere near as bad as what our worst players are. But yet, Newcastle are such a yo-yo team, like obviously against Everton. When our good players don't turn up, there's no one else to help them, right? It's just like, right, well, fuck then. Do you know what I mean? And, but I do think that when we all click and that our average players have a good game and the good players are firing, I think we could be even better than Chelsea on a one-off game now. On a one-off game, I don't think we've got the squad that Chelsea have. So I kind of agree with you in that there's massive potential in Newcastle if we can fill in those weaknesses. I just can't see players like Joe Willock coming off the bench next season for that to happen. So. Yeah,
I think of a one-off game, by the way, just to come back on that.
Yeah.
A one-off game right now, yes, I agree with you. Next season, I don't know if I agree with you because I feel like we are going to strengthen in the two areas that we need to strengthen in. And then I think you've got a more difficult task of a rebuild. So I
agree with that. Yeah, I think that what we have to do is you guys went and bought so many players. We're literally chipping away at this piece by piece. So our goal is farther away, in my opinion, than Chelsea's goal. Chelsea's goal is to compete a lot sooner because not just that, your players, again, the ones who haven't quite been, a Madueke or someone, they're expected to come good in the next 2 years. That's when, for us, we haven't got anywhere near that level. And then we've got to worry about people signing our best players. Like, you don't have that same worry to say, like Isak, Livramento is apparently high on the list for Man City.
Yeah.
And do you know what's mad? I don't know if you remember, I said to you, Livramento's a Pep Guardiola player. I said this about a year ago. And for him to go in from, I'm like, because he's got everything. He is the total package.
It's funny because we're like, myself and Josh are absolutely buzzing now and we're still sort of on a high from it all. But realistically, the pressure is right on Chelsea now because when you look at next season, there's now no excuse. Like, when Newcastle cracked the top four, when Villa cracked the top four, I'm not saying you'd have been happy with it, mate, but it's not unacceptable to then the next season finish sixth. Like, you might have had some good wins over big teams in there. It's not ideal, but it's not unacceptable. Now, Chelsea can't go backwards. So Chelsea have to get Champions League again next season now. That's a amount of pressure that an Enzo Maresca has never had to deal with. Do you know what I mean? He said that regardless of where we finish this season, I haven't been told I need to deliver Champions League football this season. I need to deliver it in my second season, right? That has obviously changed. I don't believe that anyway. That's obviously changed massively. Like I'm saying, with the strength and depth, we've got players that are coming in, like got some wonder kids coming in and whatnot. But if we can go and sign a couple of 26-year-olds, maybe an experienced striker, maybe an experienced centre-back,
awesome,
if we can go and do that, even, mate, like, I mean, I think Petrovic is a great player, but you hear about Emi Martinez leaving Aston Villa. Imagine we went and got him, right? Dude. If Chelsea can make a few good signings, then all of a sudden, expectation-wise, top four is going to be an absolute minimum. So I am interested to see how Enzo Maresca fares under that pressure because in managerial terms, he's never had that yet in his career.
And when you look at the amount of money that's been spent on Chelsea, that brings its own pressure. And now you have delivered what a lot of people would class as like, this is what you should be delivering. Yeah. I agree. We should see improvements from Chelsea year on year because Aston Villa and Newcastle, with the financial constraints that we're under by comparison, we can't be expected to do what Chelsea can do. And I think the fact that I even give Eddie Howe a chance of doing it is down to him. I think he's a special manager.
You don't think people want to stay at Newcastle though? In terms of like the fans, everything that's there, like why would they leave if they're still?
Isn't it the cash?
Are they not well paid or something? What's going on? Why are they?
I think the top players are on good money. I just think there's a feeling of if I go to Liverpool, I'm guaranteed a Premier League title now. Like or very likely by comparison at Newcastle. We're still a project. We're not the finished article. And some players may go, yeah, I don't know if I can be asked to wait that long. Do you know what I mean? Because it may be a couple of more years. I don't think we're that far away, to be honest. Like, I think we've shown at times this season, on any given day, we can beat any team in the world, actually. It's just a case of the drop off because of the shit players who are the Steve Bruce, era of Newcastle, just still lingering around somehow. They're the ones we need to fuck off. And sort it out. Should we talk a little bit about Spurs? Because they had another ridiculous defeat. 22 defeats this season, right? And they go to Big Ange after the game and they ask him, what do you think of the season? And he goes, I think it's been outstanding, mate. And you can see the look on his face of, how do I fucking say this with a straight face almost? Like, it reminded me of David Brent when they told him, you've got to go. And he goes, don't make me redundant. It was that level of like, look at all the good I've done, out there. And it's like, mate, 22 defeats is one of the worst seasons. Like, this is how bad it is. It's the biggest amount of defeats a team has ever had and not gotten relegated.
Wow.
That's how bad it is. So I think they would be absolutely mental to stick with Big Ange. They need to learn from the Ten Hag mistake.
They need to.
And they need to get him out.
How many points did they finish on? I'm just looking now. They finished on 38 points. I mean, West Ham with Joe Cole got relegated on 42 points. So that's
easy.
That points total would have had you relegated.
Newcastle got relegated on that, I think. Yeah. I think
last 10 games, by the way, they've got 4 points. They're 19th in the last 10 games on the form tape.
Mate, it's a shambles.
I know, for sure that they're shit, and we gave it to them. Our goalkeeper, Luke Shaw, they're rubbish. They didn't attack. Yes, it worked. It was a masterclass incentive. Don't show any industry and play. But look at them when it comes down to normal football. They haven't learned a thing. You would have thought that they would have been a bit better. To lose 4-1 on the final day as European champions is a disgrace. But then, and he's got no excuse. There's no excuse for it. So, but they'll keep him because winning a cup. Only Craig is the only one that said he felt the same, right? Craig is still.
There's kind of an excuse for it though. Them lot was getting smashed the other day.
4-1.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to turn up and win if I had been on the piss for the last 3 days.
The thing is, though, is you got to worry about them next season. Like, ultimately, with Champions League football, the way that, like,
you ain't got to worry about them. You ain't got to worry about them. That's the whole point.
You got to say, the last 10 games of the season are always quite insightful for how a team is then going to start the next season, which I think is really important looking at.
That's Palace.
I feel bad because I feel like I've been a bit negative in this, but like I'm delighted of the season we've had. We've won a fucking cup and we've got into the Champions League. But I remember the last time we were in the Champions League and what it did to our paper-thin squad. And I'm just scared that we're not going to be prepared and then I'm going to have a miserable season next season.
That's only because that experience is too fresh. It's because it's too fresh. When you're an old man, if Newcastle don't ever get to where hopefully they get to, when you're an old man, you'll go, mate, that match against PSG and that cup final win. So do you know what I mean?
It's been a dream and I am grateful, but I do think some Spurs fans, I understand why they're delighted, but it may be a wolf in sheep's clothing, this Champions League qualification.
I think Eddie Howe is good in. Sorry, KJ. I think Eddie Howe is just good in big matches, and I think that Newcastle could have Aston Villa got quarterfinals this season. Newcastle could have a run in the Champions League next season.
Tactically, Eddie. I sometimes wonder, if we'd have been allowed to just spend whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah.
I think he would be. I think he would have us Premier League champions. I think he is good enough to do it. It's just some of the bad players let him down so much. We do want to talk about the Premier League champions.
I just wanted to ask you guys about Arsenal, not even taking a piss. Like, do you reckon now because they've been close a lot, and you can see the issues, and there's one key issue that they're trying to sort out. You're hearing about them links to Rodrigo, and then they're going to bring in a striker. They should be right now, they should be pretty much perfect, right? And it's still what? Superman, is that still happening? I don't know if that's happening.
Yeah,
but
that's happening.
So
that's almost done.
So literally, they're addressing all the key areas. They've gone better this season. They got to a semi-final, like there was thereabouts. Do you think this is the final piece of the puzzle?
I don't at the minute. I think we have to really make our minds up once we see what sort of transfer business they do, because they've been beaten to transfer targets in the past, and it already looks like this season that trend might be continuing. They were saying they were pretty much close to having a deal done for Gyökeres. Now that's gone quiet, and apparently they're looking at Šeško. They've been looking at Šeško for what, 2 or 3 transfer windows in a row yet, haven't got it over the line. Until I see those sort of statement signings that I think come in, enhance their first team, and also give them strength in depth off the bench, which is something they haven't had. They've had a few wonder kids sort of come through. Lewis Skelly, somehow making team of the season with 13 starts, and he's been sent off in twice of them, while you got Kukurea not even given a shout, even though he's been phenomenal all season.
Even young player of the season, people are saying he should be given, right? And multiple months this season, Lewis Hall, left back as well for Newcastle, was our player of the month, multiple months. He played way more games. Like, I can't believe how much Lewis Hall goes under the radar. We talk about Liverpool, lads, because we do have to acknowledge them. The Premier League champions, Mo Salah with a record equaling goals and assist tally, equaling the record of Alan Shearer. People don't realise how good Shearer was back in the day, just saying. Can they do this again next season? Like Mo Salah, if you look in his last 10 games, as Josh, we were having a conversation about that 400 grand a week contract. Is he going to be able to maintain these levels when this isn't even the level this season that he's been in the last few years? Like, he really upped it this season. It's natural to think that I think he's 33 this year. He should decline a little bit, hopefully, for the rest of us next season.
They're the favourites, aren't they? Sure. For next season, surely they're the title favourites.
Well, they're making good signings, so that does worry me.
And also the calibre of side, like Florian Wirtz, if he goes to Liverpool, I'm terrified. He's a quality player, a really, really good player. They've obviously just replaced Trent Alexander-Arnold with Frimpong. Like he looks really, really good.
And they want Kirkes.
Yeah. So they're strengthening in all the right areas. Honestly, if they do make smart signings like this, do you remember back in the day they did get like a Bobby Firmino, a Mane, and a Salah? Like, if they start recruiting in that way, we're all in big trouble with Liverpool. We really are.
It could be 21. It could be Man United in the dust then. Could be.
Oh yeah, we're preparing for dust. You know, we've had like, we're not even thinking about that. Like, it's a shame that that's what it's come down to. But Liverpool, they didn't spend. They bought that one signing from Juve, and now it's time. They got the walkie and they're ready to go. So if they bring in like, you think to yourself, how could you make that team better? Imagine you bring in a devastating striker.
Yeah,
it's literally Man City, Liverpool.
I had Liverpool lads messaging me when it looked like we were going out of the Champions League, saying pack Isak's bags for us. Because that's the level of confidence that they've got as a club now. They're conducting themselves like the top dogs, like they're taking over from what Man City were doing, and now looking to put together a dominant era. I just think that they have relied really heavily on Mo Salah, on Virgil van Dijk, who are getting older. They may still pull it off next season, but those two have been just two of the best players in Premier League history. I think Mo Salah's in my all-time Premier League 11 now. And just seeing like Virgil van Dijk, he was next to Alan Hansen with the Premier League trophy. I was like, that must be fucking class, that if you're like an old school Liverpool fan with the history and the present. It'd be like me seeing like Isak and Shearer holding the fucking Premier League trophy together, you know, like what a fucking day. The only,
I don't think you're going to see it.
I don't think I'm going to see it either. I've seen more than enough this season. I'm not going to complain. But do we think that the quality of the Premier League this season was criticised heavily? And I personally, when I look at how many bad performances Newcastle had this season, we lost 12 times. And every time though we lost, we didn't lose in good fashion at any point. We always turned up, looked like shit and just rolled over. And we still made Champions League football. I do think that the Premier League, the quality of the Premier League wasn't the greatest this season. And I hope we see an improvement.
You disagree. I think there was a lot of points that were taken off each other. Like the fact that Newcastle have lost, it just says that the minnows are stronger. Look at Nottingham Forest. What the hell was that from Nottingham Forest? And when it goes to the last day of the season and you got all these teams that can play Champions League football, it just goes to show you how competitive the league generally is in terms of this team can get a point of anyone on any given Sunday, Saturday. I think that makes it more interesting. The only thing where the Premier League really let itself down is in Europe. You know, PSG, the Farmers, they fucked everyone. Literally, they took everyone out, and that just goes to show that that's
only Arsenal though. If you look at the Premier League across the board in European competitions this season, we've been good. We've been good. Villa got to knockout stages. Arsenal got to knockout stages. Man City got to knockout stages. So did Liverpool. Europa League finals, 2 English clubs, Conference Leagues. Like, I thought we did well. Do you know what I mean? Other than them going out. And that's why we've got that 5th spot. But I would say that realistically, I'd completely agree with KG. Like a lower points total across the board doesn't significantly mean that the teams have been worse. It means the teams have been better. When I was growing up, I know these clubs are in different standing right now or whatever, but as a Chelsea fan, you didn't need to worry about Crystal Palace. You didn't need to worry about Brentford. You didn't need to worry about Brighton. You didn't need to worry about Bournemouth. And these sort of teams now, as KG was saying, can rock up to Anfield and take points. They can rock up to Stamford Bridge. They can rock up to the Etihad, regardless of the team. You know, a Fulham on their day can go and beat anyone. And that's not the Premier League that we once had. Not what we used to have maybe, I don't know, another 4 clubs outside of the top 4 that could do that. Now you're looking more like 12 clubs, 13 clubs outside the top 4 that can go and do that. As we saw yesterday with Man United pulling off a win over Aston Villa, with Everton pulling off a win over Newcastle. Anyone can beat anyone. So I don't necessarily think that the league, as the standards dropped, I think that the competitiveness of the title race and the relegation has lessened. But in terms of overall pound for pound, every team in the league, I think the standards are very, very high.
Yeah, I really hope that we just get a proper title race next season. I don't give a shit who challenges who. We just need, that's the thing that I think is sort of, I'm sure Liverpool fans don't give a shit, nor should they, and fair fucks. But the way they were able to just, you know, underperform towards the crunch time where normally the pressure's really on, it didn't matter. It was over and done with. It sort of takes away the excitement and the feeling of like, you know, obviously you've all won cup finals and now I know what it feels like. That feeling of anything can happen, and when you finally get it, it feels such a high because it was so competitive and so you were so close to not getting it. That obviously in a title race is there if you have that title race at the bitter end. When you win a title with 10 games to go or whatever, when you finally lift the trophy, it doesn't have that same, like, I don't think social media, there was no reaction to it from normally when, you know, when, even if you don't support the club, you participate in the reaction to it. And more,
it wasn't a big enough club.
It came and went.
It wasn't a big enough club.
No, they're a fucking massive club.
It wasn't a big enough club. I'm telling you now. I'm telling you, when you lot won it, when Newcastle won that cup, you felt it. You knew something happened there. Crystal Palace, he felt a bit, it was a reverberation, but it wasn't there like that. I'm telling you, Arsenal went and won this Premier League, bloody hell, you know what's going on. You know what
I will say, when we played Arsenal, the feeling that came away with, we lost that game and respected them, better team, won, yada, yada, yada. Mikel Arteta is such a little bitch of a man, right? I really don't like this guy. There was a moment where he's on the sideline, he's screaming like a fucking dickhead the whole time as usual. The ball comes over, and when Newcastle got a throw in, and he just boots the ball away. Deliberately. Petulant little bitch, right? And I couldn't help but think, like, we've literally dicked you fucking 3 games in a row now, and it's so in your head that you can't get one over on Eddie Howe. This is what we've turned you into, this little fucking child, right? And I've never really cared about Arsenal. Like, I don't dislike them. I don't like them. There's nothing there. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people hate the fans online. I don't care. But Arteta, just that little moment there and the way he conducted himself throughout that whole game, his post-match interview, I thought, like, it's weird that we're so in his head, but the way he's behaving about it and not just, you won the game, like, just enjoy it, but he couldn't, like, not be a prick about it. And I thought, I really wish you nothing but the worst for your entire fucking career, because there's no bigger bellend in the Premier League than him. Even people like Big Ange who've been a bit foolish, he's just a proper knob, him. But then,
I'm telling you, man, if Arsenal win something, you'll see, like, you saw that Tottenham parade, it'd be bigger.
You know what I will say about parades? Newcastle's parade wiped the floor with everything you'll see this season.
Yeah.
Nothing can even come. Nothing is even in the same street as what we did. Tottenham's parade was good. It was like a fifth of what we did.
Yeah, but Tottenham have got a new stadium. When you see them pictures, I see last night they were comparing the Tottenham parade with Chelsea, like Chelsea were driving a bus down the King's Road. It's like an old-fashioned London road outside an old-fashioned by modern-day standards stadium. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know about that.
Can we talk about Man City before we end?
Yeah.
Because I think the situation around Man City is a disgrace to the Premier League, and I'll explain why. We are meant to have heard what happened on the 115 or 121 or how many fucking charges there actually are, and we were meant to hear about it in fucking March. We were meant to get some form of verdict. Now, the Premier League have let another season slip where we don't know what's meant to be happening with Man City. They've bought a fuckload of players. They've ended up with a decent amount of points, and we're going to go into another fucking season where we don't know what's going to actually happen.
Yeah.
If I was a Man City fan, I'd also want to know what's going on.
And if there's one thing that Josh hates, it's the outcome being stalled in these sort of cases. Now, just quickly, do you know what's going on with that Mudryk B sample, John?
Yeah, the Man City thing, it is clearly, it's a disgrace. And the Premier League are a joke for the way they've handled it. And the fact that they were allowed to spend a couple of $100 million again in January. And, the way Pep's going on, I don't know what's going to happen with them next season, because I think Pep's been exposed a little bit. He's been a very great manager, but he's been a very lucky manager. The team he inherited at Barca, going to Bayern, then getting one of the greatest squads ever assembled and spending another $1 billion on it at Man City. He's been very lucky, and he's able to just sign a Marmoush, keep going. But I don't know if they're going to ever be back to where they were under Pep. There's something about him.
He needs his wife back.
He's really reminding me of, when Mourinho just lost his spark and it never came back. Yeah. He looks exactly like that right now. He just doesn't look happy.
He took the tactics. The missus took the tactics book. There's no way this guy, he's lost everything. I thought after that Crystal Palace game, I said, oh my days, this woman was more important than we once imagined. There's no way he should have lost that game. How is Man City, like, they have to win one cup this season and they couldn't win that? That's alarm bells.
Pep's not a magical manager who, like, can coach, average players into being great. He is not someone who does that. He needs great players, like any top manager does to do it.
For one of the first times this season, we've seen, like, psychologically, he's not looked in the best place. Like, he's had a few interviews where I'm looking and I'm like, I feel like I'm listening to a madman here. Remember when he was going, is Rico? And he's trying to make
that was so understand. Funny, man.
He didn't understand the question.
He really, and there's times where they ask him about Jack Grealish, and he just, like, he looks like you're asking him to recount one of his most traumatic memories from his childhood. It's like, it's just, we're asking you about a fucking player that you have had. And by the way, you've absolutely ruined Jack Grealish. This was a player who used to get us all on the edge of our seat. And I have never seen a player, well, I possibly have, but he's one of the worst declines we've seen in Premier League football, to a point where he can't even get in the squad. And he doesn't want to talk about it. And it's just like,
what about Foden? If you're talking about players, you're talking about, there you go. You're talking about players that were hyped up and spoken about the next big thing, one of the greatest players he's ever seen and stuff. That's how they're earmarking him, and he's seen the greatest. But then, his fall off is something that needs to be studied as well.
We had a debate on the kickoff where we were talking about Bellingham and if there's anyone that can sort of match it. And I don't think Craig was necessarily saying that Foden was as good, but he was making a case at least and saying, look, like we should at least mention Foden's name. Foden spent the second half of the season out of the lineup. Do you know what I mean? Look at it yesterday. Like, obviously, you can't really fault it because Pep got it right. It was a good win for City, and he got it right in the end. But I looked at it yesterday, and I'm like, Kevin De Bruyne on the bench. Rodri, he's just come back from injury, so fair enough. You know, Jack Grealish is nowhere near the lineup. Foden's nowhere near. Like, they're going into these games now, and it does indicate that there's going to be a rebuild at City. One of my things with this sort of rebuild at City, I know that the season that Haaland was on fire, they won the treble. I would also argue that sometimes circumstances don't actually match up what the best version of that team was. I think that the version of that team from the season before was better than the one that went and won the treble, just the stars aligned for that season. But one thing I would say is with this bit of a rebuild that's quite clear that it is needed, even with Rodri coming back, we don't know. That's a long-term injury. We don't necessarily know he can be as impactful as he has for all those years. And Kevin De Bruyne leaving with this rebuild process, I look at it and I'm like, I do think they play better without Haaland. And I do think that in Mamouche, you look at that he's probably signing of the season or up there within the top 2 or 3, isn't he? And he came in January, so it's even more impressive. I don't know on the future of Haaland. I don't know whether that's one that might fall out of favour with Pep soon.
All right, lads, we'll leave it there. It's been a good season. A cup, Champions League qualification.
It hasn't been.
Man United
European
in the mud.
Final.
Can't complain. Let us know what you thought of it in the comments below. Hit the subscribe button, like the video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.